Okay, so let's talk real quick on quick inspection and basic field maintenance of the Kel Tec Sub 2000 Generation 2. This is a very simple blowback firearm, so there's really not a lot that you need to do with this. So I'm just going to go over a few things that I like to look for. First off, you want to make sure it's completely unloaded, of course, and you want to do a function check. So a function check is really simple. Just cycle the bolt back, make sure that it's freely cycling with no issues. Put your safety on and try to squeeze the trigger. There should be nothing happening. Flip the safety to off, and now it's on fire. Squeeze the trigger and hold it to the rear. You should hear a click. That's your firing pin. Cycle the bolt while the trigger is still being held to the rear. Let go. A small audible click, and now the trigger will work again. When you're looking at this thing and you're inspecting the bolt, along with function of the bolt, look at things like the extractor. Make sure you're not seeing any issues with the extractor. You want to look at the housing here of your receiver, because this is a polymer housing all the way down through the grip here. So you want to look for any cracks starting at the bolts here, especially right here. This is a pivot point up here, so you want to make sure there's no cracks here. You want to look down, make sure your trigger is polymer, so you want to make sure there's no cracks or deformation going on the trigger. Same with your trigger guard. Your magazine well, you want to make sure is nice and clean. There's a couple areas in the magazine well in the back that dirt can collect. If you put your finger in and go to the back, you can see like a little cavity almost in the back here. So you want to make sure to put your rag in there and keep that cleaned out, Q-tips, all that good stuff, so that way you don't get dirt in there. Your sight, of course, you want to make sure it's nice and tight. It's not bent in any way. You can go ahead and break the gun apart, or I should say not break it apart, but fold it. Then you can check the bore, the chamber, you can check the bolt face. You can look inside, look for any cracks right along this area, right along back through here, and then inside. The back of the gun, the stock assembly back here, make sure this pin isn't getting too loose, make sure there's no cracks. You want to make sure your catch is functioning well for when you fold the gun. As you move up on the gun, you want to make sure your handguard's good to go. It's not getting loose. It's not moving on you. Same with your front sight post. Front sight post, you want to make sure it hasn't moved. Your actual blade right up here, your actual sight, you want to make sure that hasn't moved at all. Any accessories you may have, you want to periodically check, make sure everything's nice and tight. Cleaning is really simple. If you're looking for a quick field cleaning, all you need is a 9mm bore snake and some oil. Run the bore snake through the bore real quick to make sure the bore is at least mostly clean. It's not going to get rid of the carbon and such. You're going to need to actually use some gun cleaner to do that. But for a quick field expedient option, run a bore snake through. A patch would do the same thing. I like the bore snakes. For lubing back here, all you have to do is drop some oil towards the back of this bolt and drop some oil up here and then along the extractor. Cycle it a few times, hold the bolt open, drop a couple extra oil, drop some oil in here, cycle it a few more times, and now you have a lubed gun. That's about it for as far as basic field inspection and maintenance. This gun is not designed to be super hard use, super high round count. It's not the purpose of this. This is supposed to be a really inexpensive gun that you can pack, you can store, emergency use, home defense, all that good stuff. So when you're done shooting it, it always pays off just to look at it. There have been instances of these things cracking and coming apart on people. I can't lie about that. There's video proof out there. These receivers have cracked and whatnot, so you want to always inspect and just make sure your gun is still good. This one is pretty good for me. I have had no issues, and most of them you're not going to have an issue with, but for your safety and for anything, just so that way you can maintain maintain a good, reliable firearm, you want to check it. So with that said, that's enough yammering out of me for this video. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the video below, or in the comments below rather. And again, I want to stress with this, along with the inspection and maintenance, keep it simple. When you keep the Kel Tec simple like I have, a very simple setup, it'll be easier to inspect, easier to maintain, easier to carry, easier to shoot. You'll find that if you adorn these things with tons of stuff, it just becomes a bear. So all right, thanks a lot for watching, and as always, stay safe.